Hello, I'm Mike Waltz, publisher of RiversandFeathers.com, a website devoted to short stories on just about anything fly fishing. Welcome to our Rivers and Feathers instructional fly tying videos, along with Alex Hawley, a former student and teaching assistant in fly fishing and fly tying, and an excellent fly tyer. We'll be leading you on the different patterns and recipes as we go along our journey, and use these patterns to help you catch more fish. Alex will also talk about some of the techniques on how to fish the flies and where to fish them as he explains the recipes. Welcome to Rivers and Feathers.
Today we're going to be tying the sexy waltz worm. There's a lot of different variations of this fly. You can tie it in many different bead colors as well as dubbing colors. This fly is really a staple to get the fish's attention in the water column, as well as it looking like lots of different kinds of worms as well as caddis flies. To begin this fly, I like to use a size 14 fulling mill hook with a 2.4 millimeter bead. I will then be using the Ultra Thread 70 in fluorescent pink. I begin by making a few wraps along the shank of the hook just to make sure my thread is nice and secure. Once it's nice and secure, I'll go ahead and cut the excess off and begin wrapping towards the back of the hook. This fly is very simple in that it doesn't have a lot of materials. However, it's very effective at catching all kinds of trout. For this fly in particular, since it doesn't have a lot of materials, it then doesn't have a lot of weight. So I like to use some lead wire and a 0.01 diameter. You can use thicker wire if you want the fly to get down real deep. However, I find that this lighter wire does just what I need it to do. I like to make about 6 to 10 wraps right behind the bead with this lead wire. I'll then push that lead into the bead as far as I can. What this does is not only secure the bead, but secure that lead wire. To also secure the lead wire, you can make wraps over it, and this makes sure that the bead and the lead wire are not going anywhere. I then make a few wraps after my lead wire to create a nice taper of the fly, creating that nice buggy look. The next material I'll be tying in will be the ribbing of the fly, and for this I like to use a Vivus hollow tinsel. It's in a small thickness. I like to cut about 3 inches just to make sure I have enough length. I'll then tie this on the side of my fly just behind that lead wire so I can start wrapping it evenly. At this step, you can look at your fly and see if you need to do any variations to the body to create a more uniform shape. And as you can see here, I'm kind of building up the body towards the head and tapering it down once I get towards the back, using the thickness of my thread to do so. Next, we'll use the Hairline Dubbing Hare's Ear in a HD4 color. This is a lighter color, however, It can be easily brushed out to make a nice buggy look to the fly. Whenever you're using dubbing, remember that less is more. So only take a very, very small pinch. I'll then take this dubbing and spin it onto my thread, creating a nice dubbing noodle that's just bigger than the diameter of the thread. I usually like to have about 2 to 3 inches of a dubbing noodle to start out with, and if it's not enough, you can always add more. I'll slide this dubbing noodle towards the shank of the hook, and I'll begin wrapping that dubbing in nice even wraps towards the bead. Since I was wrapping the dubbing away from me, I will then take my hollow tinsel and counter wrap it towards me. This will secure that dubbing in place, as well as create a little flash for the fly. This also represents the segmentation of a lot of worms and insects in the water, which can help fish easily attract this fly. As you can see, I made it open circle wraps all the way up till I met the bead of the hook. I then will take my thread, make one wrap over the tinsel, one wrap in front of it, and then again one wrap behind it. This makes sure that that tinsel isn't going to go anywhere and is nice and secure. I'll then trim off that excess, grab my whip finish tool, and make 4 to 5 wraps and pull it snug. Once you snip your thread after you've completely secured the fly, you've now tied the sexy waltz worm. This is just a variation of the original waltz worm and can be tied in many different variations. Like I said, it is an easy pattern to fish, can be fished under a dry dropper rig as well as other nymphs, as it's very, very efficient. This nymph has been around for some time and I always use it when I go out fishing.
Thank you for tuning in to our Rivers and Feathers YouTube video on instructional fly tying. Also, be sure to tune in to the RiversandFeathers.com, where you'll find short stories on just about anything fly fishing. And we want to give a special thanks to Regal Vise. They have supported our efforts in our instructional videos, and we've enjoyed our revolution. And on that vise, you can tie anything from midges to monster flies. Remember, RiversandFeathers.com.